Hi everybody. Today we are going to be looking at countable and uncountable nouns, part of our review of the basics of English grammar. So as we look at countable and uncountable nouns, obviously, nouns can be either countable or uncountable. Countable nouns, surprise, can be counted. A bicycle, 2 telephones, 3 pizzas. Uncountable nouns cannot be counted. Sand, salt, flour, coffee. For positive sentences, we use a or an for singular nouns or some for plurals. There's a booth by the entrance. I have some friends in Dorset. For negatives, we use a or an, again, for singular nouns or any for plurals. He doesn't have a turntable. There aren't any books left. For questions, we use a or an for singular nouns or any for plurals. Doesn't he have a turntable? Are there any books left? When we make an offer, we use a or an for singular nouns or some for plurals. Would you like a biscuit? May I offer you some coffee? As we look at these, you should be aware that a or an is the equivalent of one, or an example of one. Lou has a dog. One dog. To refer to a specific person, place, or thing, we use the. You know which dog is being talked about. Your dog. The dog with the fluffy tail. As we look at plural countable nouns, we never use a or an because a equals one. You can't have one of something plural, so you cannot say or write a dogs. That's incorrect. It's fine to use a number, 10, 100, 1,000, or use quantity words, a lot, a few, some, many, plus dogs. We use the article the to describe a specific group of plural countable nouns. The dogs. The reader or listener knows which dogs you mean. Your dogs, your parents' dogs, the French bulldogs I get paid to take for a walk. Uncountable nouns are always either abstract, in tiny parts, or impossible to quantify. We will not use the article a or an with non-count nouns. You cannot use the article a or an with liquids or powders unless they're in containers. You cannot write or say a water, but it is correct to describe a bottle of water, the bottle of water, or the bottles of water. You may use quantity words, a lot, a little, some. Henrietta drinks a lot of water in the summer. Be aware that some nouns that are countable in languages, like Italian, are not countable in English. Advice, information, jewelry, news, hair, garbage, fish, furniture, etc. For example, you cannot write or say advices in English. It doesn't exist. So, therefore, it's wrong to write or say an advice. You may say or write a piece of advice, some advice, or a lot of advice. It's good to memorize the categories of uncountable nouns. So you'll have school subjects, biology, history, powders like salt, medicine and recreational drugs, aspirin, marijuana, cocaine, liquids, water or wine, abstract ideas or feeling, joy or pain, collective nouns, furniture, jewelry, minerals like gold or silver, and certain foods, for example, cheese, bread, and fish. Looking at some examples, biology is an interesting field of study. I love every type of bread. My family's store sells furniture. We sell chairs, tables, sofas, desks, and everything for the home. The different types of furniture are countable. The joy I felt when my daughter was born was amazing. Joy is the feeling I have when I'm with my wife. We use no article at all when we're speaking in general about plural countable nouns. French bulldogs are really sweet. Looking at some more examples. An example of a singular countable noun, speaking generally about it, a student left their tablet in the classroom. And by this I mean a student. One student did it, but we don't know which one. A singular countable noun that is specific. The student left her laptop in the classroom. Bianca left it there. We know which specific student did it. A plural countable noun, specific. The students are taking their exams online this semester. A plural countable noun, general. Students are awesome. A singular uncountable noun, which is abstract. Knowledge is the goal of this class. Now we're going to take a look at something that is a little more real world. We're going to be looking at doing some article practice. We're going to be using either a or an, the, or no article, which we'll often refer to as the null article. So we have here a paragraph about the European Union. So read it through, and as we go through, think about whether you're going to use a, an, the, or no article. What is European Union? EU, as it's more commonly known, is a group of European countries that have all signed series of agreements. Members can trade freely with each other without having to pay fees. And people who were born in EU country can live and work in any other EU country without needing visa. Different nations often have similar laws, especially about development and agriculture. So let's take a look at the correct answers. What is the European Union? The EU, as it's more commonly known, is a group of European countries that have all signed a series of agreements. Here we could use either the specific article, the, or just members. So the null article or no article. The members can trade freely with each other without having to pay fees, and people who were born in an EU country can live and work in any other EU country without needing a visa. Again, here in this case, you could use either the or no article. The different nations often have similar laws, especially about development and agriculture. If you're unclear about any of those, go back and look at these each individually to see if you can figure out why you're using a, an, the, or no article. Let's take another example. Food safety has become one of biggest consumer issues of recent years, from public perception that food additives are harmful to high-profile scares about listeria, salmonella, and BSE, mad cow disease. There has been increasing public feeling of distrust of mass market food industry. This is despite fact that modern processing methods can now deliver range of high-quality foods at unprecedented levels of production. Nevertheless, these same production methods bring with them responsibility to ensure that processed foods can be stored and used safely in home. Yet, despite public concerns about issues such as genetically modified foods, pesticides, fertilizer, and animal feeds, one of biggest threats to food safety remains food poisoning bacteria. Looking at the answers, food safety has become one of the biggest consumer issues of recent years, from the public perception that food additives are harmful to high-profile scares about Listeria, Salmonella, and BSE, mad cow disease. There has been an increasing public feeling of distrust of the mass market food industry. This is despite the fact that modern processing methods can now deliver a range of high-quality foods at unprecedented levels of production. Nevertheless, these same production methods bring with them either the or it could be either in this case, responsibility to ensure that processed foods can be stored and used safely in the home. Yet, despite public concerns about issues such as genetic modified foods, pesticides, fertilizer, and animal feeds, one of the biggest threats to food safety remains food poisoning bacteria. One final example, British e-commerce firm THG will launch initial public offering, IPO this week, in deal that could value company at up to £4.5 billion, sources say. It would be major boost for slow European IPO market. Company should file its registration documents with London Stock Exchange in next few days. Deal is likely to raise around £1 billion through sale of new and existing shares. Potential launch of IPO was first reported by Sky News earlier on Wednesday. Spokesman for THG declined to comment. Launch of IPO and successful deal would help boost European listing volumes, which were at their lowest in 8 years, in first half of 2020 as COVID-19 crisis doused investor sentiment. Looking at the answers, British e-commerce firm THG will launch an initial public offering, IPO this week, in a deal that could value the company at up to £4.5 billion, sources say. It would be a major boost for a slow European IPO market. The company should file its registration document with the London Stock Exchange in the next few days. The deal is likely to raise around £1 billion through the sale of new and existing shares. The potential launch of the IPO was first reported by Sky News earlier on Wednesday. Here you could use either a or the, depending on whether you know who the spokesperson is. A spokesman for THG declined to comment. The launch of the IPO and a successful deal would help boost European listing volumes, which were at their lowest in 8 years in the first half of 2020 as the COVID-19 crisis doused investor sentiment. Okay, I hope this was really helpful for you. finding out other things about countable and uncountable nouns, the use of articles. I know that can be a little complex. You may need a little more review. Go to our Pinterest page, pinterest.com/unblockyourenglish. All right,